morning, good afternoon, good evening. Another edition of Cruising with AB. I just wanted to start out by saying, I've been making these Cruising with AB videos, and I was listening to a couple of them yesterday, and was thinking, man, that guy just sounds like he's bragging about all the stuff that he did. Well, and that's not what these videos are about, or what they're for. The videos are for when I'm dead and gone, my kids and their grandkids can hopefully go back and look on YouTube if it's still around and say, hey, look, man, there's Grandpa. There's great grandpa. There's all the kind of stuff he used to do when he was alive. And that's what these videos are about. Not that I plan on dying anytime soon. I just thought it was a good platform to put some spoken memories on that, a photo album just really can't tell the story. So that's why I do these. And I was thinking about the other day, and I said, man, I've talked about hunting and fishing and stuff like that, riding motorcycles. Before I started fishing back in 91, I'd always been, ever since I was a kid, I was always a NASCAR fan. I liked Richard Petty and all those drivers for the good old days of racing. Man, I was really into it. And back in the 80s, the late 80s, a good friend of mine named Bill, we built what they call a Charger division car we had a local half-mile asphalt track called San Antonio Speedway, which unfortunately has been closed down for many years. And we both liked racing a lot, and we decided we wanted to get into it and actually go put some tires to the pavement. And he bought I believe it was a 1975 Chevrolet Monte Carlo, the big ones, big long front end. I think Darrell Waltrip used to drive one of those back when he was racing. I could be wrong. And so we built that car pretty much from scratch. I tell you what, you're building a little low budget car. It takes a lot of work. You physically touched almost every single component on that vehicle. First off, you want to lighten up the car. So you go around, you gut out all the door panels and the trunk lids and the hood and any kind of, extra weight that you don't need, because you're getting ready to stick a full roll cage inside of the cab area. And you rework everything. You put bigger studs in the rotors, front and back, extra large studs. And suspension, you go through the suspension. Of course, there was a lot of rules that you had to follow. You could only do certain things. You couldn't have adjustable suspension or anything like that. It all had to be stock suspension, but you could tweak it here and there. Engines, the same thing. I think we were limited to 355 cubic inches with a 2-barrel carburetor, and there was restrictions on bore size and valve size, head valve size. I think it was kind of an unlimited thing for your camshaft, whatever you could make run right. Standard transmission, or an automatic if you want, but everybody was running standards. So, we're converting a car that used to be automatic into a standard transmission car, which just took some little extra welding. We did a lot of welding on this car. Yeah, man, you pretty much building it from the ground up. You've had every body panel off of the vehicle. You re-supporting it. Every single, probably the trunk lid was the only thing that still had the original hinges on it. There were no door hinges. The door panels were pop riveted to the the frame, the roll, things that we welded off of the roll cage brackets. Would attach the door skins to them. And then all the aluminum work you had to do on the dash and cutting in all the gauges, and you had to run a fire suppression system in the vehicle. And, fully block off the trunk area, building a rack to hold the fuel cell in the back. And so, yeah, there was a lot of hot, well, back then, they were pretty expensive parts to put on a car that went pretty quick, but it wasn't like any of the other classes that were out there, because we were the slowest class. But it was supposed to be affordable for people to go out and do. And really, it wasn't that dang affordable when you come down to it. Back then, each tire that they would let you run out there, you had to buy at the track. And they were like $70 a piece back then. And if you wanted to get good racing fuel, you could buy that out of the track. And back in the 1989, even that was, I believe, like $4 or $5 a gallon to get some good high octane fuel. So, man, plus entry fee and all of your gear, your fire suit and your helmet and your gloves. It's a pretty expensive thing to go out and do. Plus a trailer to haul the car on. It was a lot of work, but it was an experience that I'm glad that I was able to participate in. It was my buddy's car, and his stepdad helped him finance a lot of the things, because heck, Bill and I, we didn't make that much money back then. So his stepdad pretty much funded this project for the most part. And I do have on my post on my YouTube, or it says posts, I guess, I posted a picture of the car if y'all want to go look at it. But we ran pretty good. I got to drive it one time, not in a race, but they had what they called a practice day, play day out there at the track, and I got to take it around the track about 5 or 6 laps, and that was enough for me. That was pretty cool. And Bill raced, and we had some learning experiences, a couple of crashes. One night he got pushed up into the wall, and we had cut out the fender wells on the front and back, give it a little more clearance for the tires, and he hit the wall and he popped the bead off of 2 tires on the right hand side. The body came down and split those brand new tires right in half, man. $70 a piece, because the there were sharp edges on the inside of the fender wells. So we fixed that problem. We hemmed the edges and flared them out. Well, that didn't happen again. And eventually he ended up winning a race. So that was the highlight of our roundy round racing experience. I only raced, I raced with him the first season. I don't know if he didn't. He raced, I think, the next year for a little while, and I think that's when his stepdad died, and so I think he just sold the car to somebody out there at the track. But, yeah, that's some of the things that I was able to be a part of when I was a lot younger. And we were both pretty crafty back then. I could weld, he could weld, and we both were pretty experienced sheet metal fabricators, so building the stuff for the car wasn't a problem. I think the funnest part about it was building the dang thing. Of course, you know, once you got into a wreck, then you spent all next week after work fixing the damage on the car and repainting body panels and riveting them back on and screwing them back on, bolting them for the next weekend. Racing, because they wouldn't let you go out there and run a piece of junk. Well, it could be banged up. They just throw some paint on it. So that's what we did, man. And then I bought a car, and I was going to, again, this is before I was into fishing. So I bought like a 74 Cutlass Supreme, and I got started on it because I wanted to race, have my own car. And I had it all gutted out. I bought a roll cage that somebody had that fit my car. And so I welded the cage in, and I was just getting ready to get started on building it out. And so my wife was asking me, well, how much is all this going to cost? So I said, all right, I'll put everything down on paper. We didn't have Excel spreadsheets back then. And I estimated out what it was going to cost to finish this car. And I think it was somewhere around $5,000 or $6,000. You know, that was including buying a trailer to haul it out there with. And I showed her that. She goes, well, if that's really what you want to do, then go ahead and do it. And a buddy of mine was selling a boat, and I looked at that, and it was $3,400 for the boat. And it's going to be $6,000 to finish this car. And I'm not going to wreck my boat. I know I'm going to wreck my car. I know I'm not going to have to spend every week for at least 2 brand new tires, because you're going to wear out at least 2 tires every time you go racing, on the right hand side anyway. And so I added that up too, what was it going to cost for me to race every week. And the better deal was to sell what I had and go buy that boat, and that's what I did. So that's how that story went. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much. Adios.